Good afternoon and welcome back to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We'll be coming to you live from the Singapore FinTech Festival. Joining me for this segment we have Sopnendu Mohanty. He's Executive Director with the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Thank you so much for joining us for this segment. Let's talk about the payments regulatory framework and what's some of the innovation that you're focusing on behind it.
Oh, on the payment side, we are completely relooking the whole payment piece from an infrastructure perspective to putting tools for the consumer, policies, and all coming together. As an example, we have put something called Pay Now. Pay Now allows all our account holders in Singapore to pay each other just knowing the mobile phone number or the national ID, 3 clicks, 0 cost. Money goes A to B. This is a great public infrastructure which drives payment simplicity, cheaper and safe. Other example, we are consolidating the whole QR code, which is all over the place, to a single QR code, which allows all the payment providers to use a single QR to allow payments to go through that system so that you have standardized way to interface with consumer, because QR is all over the place. So we are doing this large infrastructure innovation as a regulator, as a policy maker, to facilitate the whole core rails of the digital economy.
Right, well, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, you've also been acknowledged to be very forward-looking as a regulator. What are some of the innovative regulations that's put into place right now?
So what we typically say, the future regulation construct is what we call as activity-based regulation, which means today, when you regulate a bank with many regulations which drive it, right? If you split that whole thing into small chunks and imagine somebody doing a little piece of work, do you want to apply the whole regulation of bank to the some little activity they're doing? You need to proportionately reduce the regulatory burden because of that activity they're doing. So we're moving from entity-based to an activity-based regulation. That is happening for the payments. So a new payment service bill is coming. The whole regulation will be split into 5 categories and proportionally will apply regulation which will make it much more efficient, much more meaningful, and hopefully that spurs innovation in that space.
Right, and so that's my last question to you. What else are you working on to encourage development and adoption of e-payments within Singapore?
We do, of course, because we have infrastructure which is now quite evolved. We're opening up the FAST system, the faster payment system, to non-bank player to connect, so they can also do innovation at the consumer end. And beyond that, I think sometimes payment is just not moving money from A to B. There are a lot of infrastructure, cross-border payments. How do you solve today if you send money from A to B, small value, it will cost more, it will take 3 days to move money. How can you solve those problems? You're moving cross-border payments as a big part of the whole thinking. Also looking at the back-end infrastructure for settlement. How to do cross-border settlement faster between central banks. So that's one way to look at. Experiments, real infrastructure connectivity, standards, bringing ecosystem, the FinTech players together from multiple markets, common policies is a way to build the whole chain.
I think that's the key, standardizing it for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, well thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me.
You got it. And thank you for joining me throughout the day. We're coming to you live from the Singapore FinTech Festival. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.